New York City Council member from Queens, Mr. Donovan Richards. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you, Ira. What did they not jam? So I brought my guitar, but I left it in the car. Y'all want to hear me next? All right. I got at least one fan here. But it is an honor to be here at your fall festival, music festival. And when Ira sent the email a few months ago, I said, what the heck? It is so critical during this time that we get out and that we spread the message. And what's very alarming is just before I left Queens, I got to see the reports of how many more people registered to vote this year opposed to last year. And it's really astounding that less people actually registered to vote this year than last year. Now, that should send off an alarm bell for us. That means that we have to continue to get out there to make sure that we tell our neighbors, we pull our children out, and really implore that they really get out and vote. Now, there was this guy in the White House this week, Kanye West, and he was talking about Donald Trump is his Superman. And you know what? My answer to that is we got a little kryptonite for the president and for Kanye West. And that is called the power of the ballot. And that means November. We gotta really get a lot of kryptonite out. Each one of us has to carry a little kryptonite to the voting polls to ensure that we send a very strong message and that we flip the U.S. Senate, we flip the House of Representatives to Democrat. I don't know if there are any Republicans here. I apologize in advance. But if you are a Republican, we want Democrats to run this nation for several reasons. My son, Donovan the third is here, D3, and my wife, Tamika. Say hi. It's his nap time. But when you think about what's going on with immigration in this country, how children are being torn apart from their families, we have to respond to that. That is not right. Repeat after me. That ain't right. That ain't right. When we see billionaires getting their pockets filled over the needs of everyday people, as he spoke of, the affordable housing crisis that we have, not only in this country, but in this city, we have an obligation to make sure that we put individuals in government who are going to be responsive of the needs of the people. When you see what's going on, I mean, it just goes across the board. Immigration, healthcare, everything that New Yorkers, that makes our values, are under attack right now. So it is our responsibility to really get out there and send a strong message. This year is a very important year, not only for the state, but for the country, but especially New York State as well. We have an opportunity to turn the Albany. We have an opportunity to ensure that Democrats now take over Albany. That is important for so many reasons. When we talk about rent control, when we talk about criminal justice reform, when we talk about improving the environment, I represent the Rockaways, an area hit very hard by Hurricane Sandy, and we've seen what's going down in Florida right now, across North Carolina. We really got to step up to make sure that we're putting the right people in who are going to be more responsive to the needs of everyday people. So Ira, unless you want me to sing, I'm going to get off this mic. I don't think all of you came here to hear me, but I wanted to be here because I thought it was important to certainly send a message and to be very clear that we need to continue to call out our neighbors, to get everybody involved, to be engaged, and to make sure that we become a true blue wave, not only in this state, but in this country. So thank you for having me this afternoon. God bless you all.
No. Well, I'd like to introduce Rosie O'Donnell's big brother, Danny O'Donnell, New York State Assemblyman.
Thank you very much. My little sister and I have been spending the last month going to fundraisers to ensure that we take our nation back. We have to take our nation back, and I stand before you as an example of the mechanisms and the way government can work for you. I wrote the Marriage Equality Act. I wrote the Dignity for All Students Act, which protected trans people for the first time in New York law. And I also voted against MMA. And all those things caused me to get death threats at my home and death threats in my office. But I'm the kind of guy who will tell you the truth, will take a position, and never waver from my commitment for fighting for ordinary people. And in the end, it's the ordinary people like you who are required to get us over the hump in the next election. We need to take back the state Senate. We need to have a Democratic House, and we need a Democratic United States Senate. And the only way that happens is by getting out the vote. So when I was first asked to do this, I said, absolutely. If there's music around and people fighting to make sure that we have a Democratic-controlled country, I'll be there. Thank you very much.
So we're going to bring up New York City Councilwoman Carlina Rivera and New York City Council member Rafael Espinal. And I really appreciate them being here today.
Hey, everyone. Good afternoon. Are we getting out the vote this election season? We got to get busy, people. We have to get busy. I am so proud to be here today. And I brought up my friend that I'm going to introduce in a minute, who has really done just a lot for arts and culture and is making sure that we elect people that care about our communities. And so my name is Carlina Rivera, and I proudly represent this district that has Tompkins Square Park, where I have spent my entire life. So I actually grew up going to this park, hanging out all over, playing ball, handball, going to the pool. This is my community. And so I want to thank Ira. I want to thank all the bands. They've been amazing. And I actually have hair to headbang, but I'm gonna take it easy today and just stick to the messaging. So we're here to really making sure that we get out the vote. And you know, these midterm elections are so important. And I can tell you that on the local level, New York City is supposed to be super progressive. But I am one of 11 women on the city council out of 51 members. Okay, so we don't even have parity and representation at the local level. And so I remember my election. It was really challenging, being a Latina, not coming from much, but making sure that I was out there, that I was doing the work. And if we saw anything this past election season, it is that organizing and grassroots campaign work, okay? Those campaigns work. And so you sign up, put your name, put your email down. It's important because we want a city and we want a country that's representative of a few things. A country that treats people with dignity, respect, and fairness. Not one that treats sexual assault as boys will be boys, or puts corrupted politicians in power, or that creates this culture that is anti-American and unwelcoming to immigrants and to LGBTQ individuals. So we are working every single day to make sure that we have really just government that is reflective of that. We're working on awesome legislation that's going to protect the arts community, education, housing, really 4 basics, right? Food, healthcare, housing, and education. If not every single person has access to that, then we are failing our fellow people. And so I have my friend here. All right, he's also going to rock the vote this season. Okay, and please go and look up some of these candidates. They are amazing. We're trying to take back the Senate here in New York State, and you could be a part of that. And also, we are going to elect more women to Congress in our nation's history, and you could be a part of that. And so I'm going to introduce my friend, Rafael Espinal, who proudly represents Brooklyn. And I always say I have a lot of love for Brooklyn because when my family came from Puerto Rico, they landed in Brooklyn, okay? They landed in Bushwick houses. So Rafael, if you don't know who he is working on some incredible initiatives around our environment, just making sure that we have a greener city. And he is actually the creator of the Nightlife Mayor, making sure that we are taking back our nightlife responsibly and having fun doing it. So without further ado, everyone, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for enjoying open space. And again, I'm Carlina Rivera. I proudly represent District 2. And again, here is my friend, Council Member Rafael Espinal.
Thank you so much, Carlina. I really have to let you guys know you have one of the best council members in the city council in Carlina Rivera. Like, I'm jealous. You know, I wish she was representing me back in Brooklyn. But it truly is a pleasure to be here today. I am Rafael Espinal, I represent Brooklyn, but New York City, of course, has been my home my entire life. And the East Village and the Lower East Side and this part of Manhattan, I really truly believe is like the epicenter of like the coolest rock and roll that this planet has had to offer. So that's why I think it's cool to be here. And I want to thank Ira for all the great work you've done to put this together. To be here and also celebrate and listen to all these great bands in places that you usually probably wouldn't hear the music. I created the Office of Nightlife. I repealed the antiquated cabaret law, which was a law that didn't allow you dancing in the clubs. And what that did was suppress culture. It was a very oppressive law that really went out after the small businesses that allowed to create safe spaces for music, for communities. And we had to push back, especially at a time when we had a federal government that's doing everything it can to suppress the people of this country. We need to look at our own laws and say, what are we doing wrong here in New York? And how can we fight back by changing the way New York City operates and actually being an example for the rest of the country? So that's why I think it's important that we start at culture, we start with the music, we start with the people, and then we continue pushing forward. Because next, as Carlina said, we're taking back the Senate, then we're taking back the White House. So thank you all. I appreciate you all. Thank you. Have a great day.
So some of you people might know him, Mr. Sander Hicks.
Hey, what's up, Tompkins Square Park? It's great to be back here. Yeah, Tompkins Square Park and radical politics in the East Village is the reason I moved to New York City in 1991. And I came up to the New School for Social Research, and I transferred schools because of radical politics in the East Village, the activism against homelessness, squatters, anarchism, socialism, people power up against corporate America and corporate media. And so I've done stuff like I started Soft Skull Press. We took on the Bush family in 1999. I started Vox Pop, the coffee house in Ditmas Park. And these days I had a little foray running for U.S. Congress, and I learned a lot about the corruption of the system and the corruption of the New York City Board of Elections that disenfranchises 200,000 voters. In 2016, they knocked off 200,000 voters that had Latino names in 2016, people that were suspected of maybe being too progressive, people suspected of maybe supporting Bernie Sanders. So there's a lot of corruption that we need to expose as a people, right? So I've relaunched my newspaper, the New York Megaphone, NewYorkMegaphone.com, in the spirit of Tompkins Square Park, the spirit of newspapers that I grew up here. I came of age here reading papers like The Shadow, papers like Love and Rage, papers like Revolutionary Worker, right? So thank you. So please don't leave home don't leave the park today without getting your free copy of the New York Megaphone for truth, up against the cover-up, up against FBI corruption. We stand for a new investigation of 9/11. We support the Lawyers Committee for 9/11 inquiry, and there's a lot of corruption out there. We saw that with We saw that with the Kavanaugh hearings. We got to stand up to patriarchy, imperialism, abusive, imperious attitudes. We have to have a democratic, open attitude that supports women, that supports the people. And anyway, I just want to say thank you. I celebrated Leonard Cohen's death underneath the Krishna tree. Did you know that this tree is called the Krishna tree? When Leonard Cohen died, this is where I came. So I just want to say, in closing, before we welcome up the slogans, first we take Manhattan, then we take Berlin. Thank you.